metamorphosis. It derives from the Greek words meta, meaning beyond or transformation, and morphosis, a representation of significant change or transformation in shape, structure, or form. We've already covered the extent of Akemura's meta-narratives by proxy of the panel manipulation caused by Cho, yet I could have never expected that the butterfly, the animal itself, would become such a crucial compartment of Akemura's development. The chapter begins with Chiaki telling both the maid and us, the audience, that Akemura is no good with confrontation. Similar to Samura, who wears a heart twice as fragile as that of a normal person, their bonding at first sight starts to make every bit of sense. Like a butterfly's wings, this young boy is delicate and needs to be handled with care. But unlike a butterfly, his metamorphosis is only beginning. The handover of Chiaki symbolizes the start of Akemura's transformation. His kind-hearted demeanor switches into a Chihiro replica as the evident bloodlust fills the room. You catch a glimpse of what would become the Sword Saint until Chiaki snaps him back to his senses. The chapter title itself has nothing to do with mutation, rather the exact opposite. Powerlessness, the inability to do anything, results in stillness and stagnation. In animal speech, this is Akemura's chrysalis. There are very clear visual parallels to Chihiro's first encounter with Samura, ones that evoke the feeling of an obstacle far too big to face, right now at least. You're meant to feel that Akemura is one step away from slicing Gyu's head off clean, yet that buildup goes nowhere. Like lingering foreshadowing that's sure to be a mirror of future events, it begins to set the stage. Likewise, Kunishige's B-plot of forging the first ever enchanted blade is too a sign of his powerlessness. Against the Soga society, against the Sorcery Bureau, he was too weak and failed to do anything. But with this, he's able to take the first step into the spotlight. There's a very clear intentional irony in Kunishige not being afraid to make the whole nation his enemy, but I do appreciate the way in which he's considerate of Subaru's title. Nationalistic identity becomes the foreground of the Seitei War and its positive public press with titles like the Sword Saint, Hero of Japan, and of course the Enchanted Blade Wielders. Yet this dialogue exchange works to render those titles obsolete to the individual. Great historic leaps are often fueled by incredibly personal and intimate motives, and while Kunishige doing this for Chiaki is as predictable as alien headbutt getting axed, Subaru's dialogue also suggests that his reasoning might mirror Kunishige's, treating it as self-explanatory that you'd go against the world for the woman you love feels very intentionally indicative of Subaru's character. That's to say, a portion we've yet to touch upon. Hiroto getting posthumous love was a given, and while the introduction of a sudden younger brother might feel ham-fisted to some, he plays the role of a naive little brother with too much dip on his chip so well that I can easily accept it. And realistically, the Irishima talks had no room to chat about familial relationships, which is why the Soga hierarchy being introduced here, especially after the last chapter, feels incredibly natural and fluid. Chapters 116 and 123 in pair create an image of the Soga princess as the overbearing ruler of the clan and therefore society as a whole. Yet here we find out that even when backed by the powers of limitless prophecy, the men still find their way to the top of the totem pole, which also establishes a very easy to follow truth. The Soga princess holds the power, yet don't attempt to gain leverage with it. The princess of current and past generations are characterized as far too benevolent to ever seek anything in return, because just the selfless gesture of the help they provide to the country feels like the greatest honor. And while it's true to a degree, in reality it only serves to strengthen the male elite and their position in the world. By taking in the fact that Hiroto was the clan's prior family lead, you can in equal measure imagine that the former princess who came before Chiaki was his sister. Akemura seems to have had a prior interaction with Hiroto, and since Chiaki described the princess as a kind person, I believe it to be likely that in the web of cousins that bullied Akemura, they were the good ones. Looking deeper into the family hierarchy, Yoshinojo's second-in-command position comes as no surprise. Yet notice how the woman wielder is nowhere to be found on the list. Not a Kagari, not a Soga either. The mystery of this transcendental woman keeps getting more and more curious. But at the same time, it's not like the Uruha, Samura, or Misaka lineage were some family of notoriety either. So is it really that surprising? To circle back to Yoshinojo, however, second in command would imply an established formality, polite speech, and certain distance to respect his highness. Yet the two are, for a lack of a better term, very close to one another. Introduced as the first outer Soga is one thing, but their limited interactions frame each other as if friends. All of which is to say, I doubt Hokuzono would lay so many individual seeds of plot if he didn't plan on harvesting them later down the line. Gyu is one of the first characters in Kagurabachi to have a directly translatable name. In this case, the intended emotion is courage, heroism, and someone of nobility. By all means, he believes himself to be the modern Ukizane Soga, the one who will inherit the Kurotsuchi and end the Mikaboshi for good, which makes this standoff panel against Akemura all the more poetic. Two men who will come to carry the torch of their ancestors, yet only one remains etched into the history books. Hasumi Shinsaku is a fantastic example of a side character with no real intense character writing still turning out phenomenal. He's a testament to the fact that sometimes all you need is a realistic, short-lived character journey. There's been subtle hints of his paternal attachments towards Mashiro, and now that he's gone, you'd think Hasumi would have no more attachments or reasons to act erratic. And yet, he does one of the craziest and conclusive moves of his entire career. Why? Is it for Shiba? They do have history, and he's essentially the last remnant of Mashiro, but that seems to be hardly enough reason to do all of this. Is it to battle against Chiaki's injustice? He's never met the true Chiaki, only conversed with the Soga princess, so that feels unlikely as well. I can only imagine that Hasumi's actions are not just because of a single person, but a general ideal, to rebel against the Soga society, to take responsibility for raising Mashiro in an environment that caused his demise, and to take a gamble on the war and entrust it to the future generation. The Irishima incident was a terrifying wake-up call of the dangers they're up against, and that only makes me love how sometimes the punishment isn't assassination, death, or execution, but simply losing your job. Chapter 46 has generally been understood as a direct parallel of the past, which led to theorization, establishing a timeline, and attempting to piece together a puzzle before it was given to us. I can confidently say not a single person saw this type of twist coming. Being the furthest from thematic analysis, I have to wonder about the functionality of what will now transpire. Although I'd love to gush about what is one of the most beautiful final pages in the series' catalog thus far, my mind immediately goes, wait, so this is Subaru's blade, right? Thus, of course, making him the first enchanted blade wielder. Since they also mentioned the storage functionality of the blades, we're certain to see the lifelong contract both created and in action as well. Now, here's the troubling part. Do they just unleash it? In the conference room, that seems unsafe and very poorly thought out. So, are we doing the Kagurabachi Trinity test, where instead of test launching a nuclear bomb, it's the world's first enchanted blade ability use? To give credit where credit's due, if they don't trust your word, then at the very end, they'll have to trust seeing it with their own eyes. The series establishes a very stylish final countdown, where the handover day is revealed prior, yet we don't immediately jump to it. Letting every character interaction play out, while knowing Chiaki is days away from being thrown to the wolves, makes every second count and every chapter gripping something to witness. But because of said countdown, I now feel more than ever before that the trade will fall apart. But by far my biggest question, if the first enchanted blade is crafted this early, why does the war not start until a year from now? Well, for now, we set the forge ablaze and witness the moment the world changes for good.